Okay, so let's go over some of the notes and see what the highlights are. So, if I were you, if I were new, and you can get lost in reading. So, what I think I would do is take a look just at this. And what I'm going to do is highlight some of the more interesting sections in green, which I think you absolutely have to read and understand and feel. So, there's a lot of talk in Silicon Valley about P. Doom, and we're really the first people to be talking about P. Bloom. And really, that's our two futures. And that's why you saw in the sketches, that's actually the virtual reality sketch, but that's why I had started going in this direction here. So then I would say that all these are just optional reading. If you need to skip over, don't worry about it. I would say focus on this. The next thing to focus on, I'm going to toggle this back to green, is the frontier. Because when you come to this platform and this homepage and you're a new visitor, you want to feel like you're in a place that's new and different and exciting at a frontier. You do not want to feel self-help, mental health, anxiety, depression. You want to feel like there's a big bloom happening, there's something exciting happening, a new kind of consciousness is emerging. And, we call ourselves the garden generation. And we're here to celebrate together this great adventure of being human in a new light. So, like, read this piece, right? If you're going to read 300 words, read this. And then this just expands on it. So you'll kind of get a little bit more detail about what the big bloom is and how the big bloom is this new emergence over here. So I'm actually going to move this file up here. And then, the kind of people often ask me who's your audience, and they expect me to talk about age, gender, interests. No, what it really is people who like being at the frontier of new things. They're not afraid to move fast and break things. Over here, there are some feelings of anxiety and disruption. Like it's not all positive and it's not all happy. Like when you're under such cataclysmic change. So we kind of created a transition here. The next thing is like what we're really doing with this platform, and I gave you a sneak peek here, is this is a sketch that I'm making of the three-dimensional interface. So in 2 dimensions for your journal, the octagon is like this, and then when you rotate it 90 degrees, it becomes your floor plan, and then you can go up and down. You have your seeds and your roots and your stars up here. So we're building a new system, and we call that XBT, Expanded Behavioral Therapy. And like I would read this this is a basic idea in the history of our species for 12,000 years since we got off the savannah. There's the oral word, the written word, and now the expanded word. In the 2020s is when we, with platforms like ours, are giving birth to the expanded word. If that's not something that excites you, this is not for you. You're not an early adapter. That's like a big idea here. This is just kind of going into the details. It's if you're new to this, it's really whoa. But ultimately, what I would recommend, I'm going to put this in a different color, is to read this slowly, because this section is deep. And you have to kind of pause and take a deep breath and say, well, what if this was true? What if we really could do the things that this text is describing? What if we really could hide and reveal things? And what if we did have this new spatial awareness, right? You can't just skim this. So that's why I said, like, if I just take a couple sections and highlight them, and if you couldn't read everything, you couldn't even read half, like, what would I recommend you read and why? And then, like, these 2 sentences, like when you think about in history in the 20th century, there's been therapy and pills. And what we're saying is, well, now there's this expanded behavioral therapy where we can do so much more. Now, over here is what happens is when you have a new kind of XBT and a new frontier and a big bloom, well, you have a new language. Okay, so what's extraordinary is you come to our platform, you're going to experience a new language, right? And actually, you'll see over here, some really nice examples of that new language. And one of the things that's a challenge is, well, you may have great ideas, but that doesn't mean you can put them on the homepage. So, you know, maybe we have jump off points or links, but like what we need to do in our notes is at least have the foundations and understand the North Star and understand the inventory. And so if it does not make the cut of the homepage, we may provide links to it, or we may just have other ideas how to introduce people to it. So this stuff is fundamental, and then we don't want to feel like we're trying to cram too much into people's head at once. So we kind of have to find a balance between air and space, and the enjoyment of being a new person discovering a new platform, and introducing radically new ideas that don't really have an analogy. Okay? So we have this new language. I'll leave this ungreen. I won't green it because it's kind of just extra reading. Now let's come into the early adapters. So this is why it's kind of hard to pigeonhole our platform, and people say, what are you building? Well, certainly I know if you're here, you're interested in the arts. You're probably interested in tech and psychology. And there's this sweet spot where we're putting them together in a unique new way that couldn't have been put together until AI happened. So I'll put this little section in green here. And then this is, let me see if this kind of, this feeling that a lot of people have that there's more to life than what the world is telling us there is, and that you're going to find it through a new language and a new way of coming together in community. So I'll put this in green, just this in green. So really, the kind of people we're attracting feel this way. And it's not all positive, like, oh, I want more love in my life. It's they feel a little discontent, maybe a little loneliness. They feel like life is a miracle and we're not quite celebrating it the way we could, right? Okay. And then I love this. I don't know if we can fit it on the homepage, but boy, do I love it. Emotional superheroes. I just love the concept that to be peaceful when you're getting attacked, to be confident when you're getting criticized, to have faith when everything looks dark. We call that an emotional superhero, or we call that an inner hero or inner superhero. And like, that's really the kind of community we're building. So who's it for? It's for people who want to be an emotional superhero, even if you're not right now, but you'd like to be. So that's really the deep answer about who this early platform is for. Now, the garden, inner garden. So likewise, when you have a garden inside of you and you're cultivating that garden, that's an act of emotional heroism. So if you have weeds and rodents and insects and invaders and pests and toxins and disease, if you have blight, if you have all these problems in your inner garden, I speak from experience, then you're a hero for having the courage and the tenacity to go in there and do something about it. So I'll put that in green, okay? And then over here, I love this because to be an inner gardener, it's not elitist, right? If all you need is the willpower and the tools and the community. You need the will, the tools, and the community, but you don't need to have any special gifts in the beginning. You need a pioneering spirit, right? So there's certain things that you are going to need, but you don't need everything. You can read this about the difference between a user and a gardener. This is, we kind of blossom where we planted. I'm not putting this in green. It's just kind of optional. And I do love the idea, you know how there's baby boomers? Well, we call them bloomers. We're bloomers. And I love calling ourselves bloomers, and I love calling ourselves part of the garden generation. That we're cultivating the garden inside. And here gives you some examples there. And I love these phrases, we the gardeners of our psyches, right? And we the gardeners of peace, and we grow peace flowers, right? And actually, when you configure your octagons, That's exactly what you're doing. You're configuring the 8 zones of your octagon, and you get to choose, is it empathy, resilience, love, compassion, peace? You get to choose what types of flowers you're going to grow, right? Variety. I also love the variety. It's already black and red. I won't make it green, but um, you're not like one type of gardener. And sometimes you're a gardener in patience, and sometimes humility, and sometimes forgiveness. So this is really a deep and meaningful platform. I would this actually I would just take this one sentence and turn it into green, and then make the rest of the reading optional. This is the whole point: is living from the inside out. So our brand name is Inner, and we're building an inner garden. And the whole purpose and principle of what we do in one sentence: to help people live from the inside out. When you think about it, all of social media and all of big tech and most of our culture is designed from the outside in. So you come into this world, and family, language, community tell you who you are, what to think, what to say, what is right, what is wrong, what is moral, what is immoral. Everything comes from the outside in. And we actually understand that you're never going to really fully live only from the inside out. Life is a toggle and a balancing act between living from the inside out and living from the outside in. And one of the reasons why we use an octagon, there are many reasons, is the octagon is the ultimate symbol of balance. Like if you put a circle and a square together, you get an octagon. And the octagon is like logic and reason, and the circle is like emotion and passion and love. And so like finding this balance between living from the inside out and living from the outside in, because being open and receptive to other people, letting other people inside your heart, is just as important as being authentic and true to yourself. Because part of being authentic and true to yourself is being open to other people. So like we're creating, and that's why we needed a new language, because we're creating a new kind of balance, especially with biotech, neurotech, and AI. We're living in a very different world from anything our parents and grandparents had. And we really need a new language and a new toolkit. This actually took, you can read this if you want, that's fine, kind of optional. Let's go to the Big Bloom. I briefly talked about it. I love this phrase. I'm actually going to change the colors of it for you. From the Big Bang to the Big Bloom. And I think this captures the whole spirit of our historical sense of where our platform fits in history, from the Big Bang to the Big Bloom, and the 2020s of all the decades since the 13.7 billion years. Imagine being alive right now, creating stuff right at the birth of the Big Bloom. Right? It's unfathomable. It's so exciting, and it's so off the charts and over the top that it's hard to imagine. But when you come into those Figmas and you look at our artwork, and you look at the designs and the colors, and you look at the language, you start to feel the reality of the Big Bloom. And then certainly when you put on the headset, you're really going to feel it. So that's why, it's coming alive. And this, if I was to try to keep the reading low, I would just do that. Take a look at that sentence there. Okay, well, it's just background reading if it captures your interest. Background reading if it captures your interest. I liked it. And I love this. If you're in the shadows, I actually want to move this to shadows, because we're not saying that life is easy and that growing peace flowers and love flowers is easy. In fact, a lot of us are in the gutter, but we're looking up at the stars. And in fact, you remember we have stars. You can configure your own stars, and in 2D and 3D. So you're going to have stars for your journaling, and you're going to have stars for your VR. Darkness, I'm going to move. Oh, we are in the shadows. Sorry. Okay. So Yeah, this is one of the curious things is of all the decades for us to have such a mental health crisis when you think about the miracles of medicine and the miracles of technology and the James Webb and the Hubble telescopes and the gene tech and the discovery of the microbiome and everything. Like we could be like having the most incredible life right now. And so like what happened, right? So something went wrong. And this is kind of old now. I mean, we've been saying this 15 years since we started our work, but so it's not very original at this point to say that. But why are we here? What are we doing? What's our ultimate purpose? It's really this, and I'll put it in purple because purple's the color of royalty. So just some bullets that we might use for the homepage. And then I love this phrase shadow leadership because you're a gardener of your own psyche, and that is your identity. And not everything that grows within you deserves to live. There are invasive thoughts, parasitic doubts, psychological pests that must be hunted down and eradicated without hesitation. So, like, to be a gardener of your psyche, you're going to need some real strong, courageous, masculine energies. Okay, it's really but that comes back to the balance between courage and compassion, right? So actually, I'm going to put that in red, and then let's take a look at this. And then that's just a little more on the beginning. And then this is a good way to end the reading, is ultimately creating a platform of hope. So you're a new visitor, you come to the homepage, you want to experience hope. We can't dwell too much on the problem. Okay, we're not here to fearmonger or scare people or induce anxiety. So we really want to err on the side of beauty, and we want to err on the side of really creating a stunning experience. So that finishes up the reading section. So there are a bunch of words here, but you can certainly just focus on the green. And if you only read the green sections, you're looking at 1,000, 1,200 words. It's nothing. But then you have more. If something catches your interest, you have more to take a look at. Then what happens is there is some repetition, like I have 5 different files with spines, right? And the reason I did that is that sometimes a change in headline or a change in word can capture your interest and a light bulb goes off just because we used a different word. And so I wanted to give a little space for you to see different ways that we might do the spine. But if you imagine a home page and you imagine... let's come down to here. Yeah, and you imagine you're on, this is the top, and then you're scrolling down and you're having an experience that unfolds from top to bottom. What I've done here in the notes is provide some different examples of how we might create spines. Then I went to a little more about feeds, and then story framework. So one of the things we want to do, this is so important, this is how we're going to end this video. You could take 5 ideas and cram them into the GUI on the homepage. Idea 1, idea 2, idea 3, but they're disjointed. Like, the ideal outcome is we kind of have a story arc, and we've suggested one here with the 2 futures, P. Doom and P. Bloom. And then the ideal is that there's some sort of visual unfolding. If it's true that we have 2 futures, a P. Doom and a P. Bloom, that the whole landing page, homepage, is really one continuous unfolding of that one idea. So you don't have 5 separate ideas. You have one unfolding idea with 5 dimensions. Okay? So that's what we're looking for. If this sort of thing, if this sort of talk inspires you, drop me a note. We love to collaborate and we love to break new ground.